I once believed that true love demanded sacrifice, and I was willing to pay the price. My name is Ethan Carter, and not long ago I made a decision that would forever redefine my life. I willingly left behind a promising career in corporate strategy, a world of sharp suits, high-stakes negotiations, and dreams built on ambition, in order to devote myself fully to our family. I built a modest, welcoming home in a vibrant American suburb, a sanctuary where mornings began with the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee and the soft strains of classic vinyl, and evenings unfolded over quiet conversations and candlelit dinners. For years, I took immense pride in the sacrifices I made. Every sunrise was a testament to the choice I had made to invest my heart and soul into creating a life of genuine connection and stability. My wife, Madeline, with her captivating beauty and effortless charm, was not only my partner but also the very pillar of our happiness. I reveled in our daily rituals, preparing breakfast together, walking our children to school, and later gathering around the dinner table to share our dreams and aspirations. In those tender moments, I believed that every personal ambition I had renounced was repaid 100-fold by the love and security we shared. Yet, as the seasons turned, subtle discrepancies began to emerge in our once perfect routine. At first, they were almost imperceptible. A text left unanswered a minute longer than usual, or a fleeting hesitation in Madeline's smile when she answered her phone there. I reassured myself that she was an independent, driven woman with her own circle of friends and responsibilities. A business trip was simply a part of her professional life. But in the long, quiet hours after the children were asleep, I found myself scribbling observations into my worn leather journal, relic of a time when I still harbored dreams of poetry and truth. I noted the slight change in the cadence of her laughter, the way her eyes would dart away when she thought I wasn't watching, and the extra minutes she lingered before returning home. One crisp autumn evening, as golden sunlight spilled through our living room and cast long shadows on the walls, Madeline announced she was leaving on a business trip. "I have an important meeting out of town," she said, her eyes alight with a practiced excitement that I had always admired. I embraced her, confident that her professional commitments would only add to our shared future. And yet, even as I watched her drive away, a small, persistent voice in my heart whispered that not every departure was as it seemed. That night, as our home settled into a reflective silence and the soft hum of the city faded into the background, I opened my journal and began to record the details of the day. I wrote about the slight pause before her goodbye kiss, the furtive glance she cast toward her phone as she left, and the extra time that ticked by before her promised return. I tried to convince myself that these were trivial, mere nuances of a busy life. But deep inside, an uneasy sea was taking root, and I closed my journal that night with a heavy heart, unaware that the promise of a simple business trip would soon be the prelude to a shattering truth. In the days following Madeline's departure, an unusual stillness settled over our home, a silence that seemed to dampen even the echoes of our past laughter. The vibrant chatter that once filled our dinner table was replaced by an oppressive quiet, as if every shared word was weighed down by unspoken secrets. When she returned, her recounting of the business trip was clipped and oddly rehearsed, as though she were carefully choosing what to reveal and what to hide. I began to notice the small signs, the way her eyes would dart to her phone whenever she mentioned meeting a colleague, the fleeting hesitation in her tone when she referred to her travel schedule, and the subtle change in her expression, a guardedness I had never seen before. Every evening, after our children were tucked in and the house surrendered to silence, I retreated to my study. Beneath the soft glow of a solitary desk lamp, I poured every observation into my journal. I meticulously recorded the exact times Madeline left and returned, the slight pauses in our conversation, and even the inflections in her laughter that now seemed laden with something I couldn't name. At first, I tried to rationalize these observations as mere side effects of a hectic schedule or temporary distractions. But as the pages filled, a disquieting pattern began to emerge, one that suggested the slow, painful erosion of trust. One gray, rainy afternoon, as droplets tapped gently against the window and the world outside appeared to weep, I finally asked, "How was your trip?" I tried to keep my voice light as I sipped my lukewarm coffee, but the tension was palpable. Her response was curt, a simple, "It was fine, just the usual meetings." Yet as she spoke, I noticed her gaze flicker toward her phone, and I caught a glimpse of something unspoken in her eyes, a fleeting look of discomfort that sent a chill through me. My heart sank further as I began to time her absences, noting the duration of her phone calls and even writing down the names that appeared, however briefly, on her screen. Every small irregularity coalesced into a tapestry of suspicion that threatened to unravel the very trust one had once believed unassailable. Night after night, the questions in my mind multiplied. I wondered silently, had I sacrificed too much of myself for the sake of our family? Was the promise of unwavering love merely a fragile illusion, bound to shatter under the weight of hidden truths? Despite clinging to the hope that our bond could weather any storm, the mounting evidence, The prolonged silences, the furtive glances, the unexplained discrepancies began to suggest that something fundamental was eroding the foundation of our shared life. By the end of a particularly tense week, the quiet doubts had transformed into an overwhelming need for certainty. I realized that ignoring these omens might come at a price far greater than the temporary discomfort of confronting them. With a heavy heart and trembling resolve, I braced myself for what might come, knowing that every passing moment only increased the risk of losing not just our trust, but the very future we had once dreamed of. Late one evening, when Madeline once again announced she was leaving for what she claimed was a business trip, my heart thundered with a mix of dread and desperate determination. By this time, the seeds of suspicion had sprouted into something I could no longer ignore. I resolved that I must follow her, if only to uncover the truth behind her repeated departures and the elusive details that had haunted me for weeks. Under the shroud of twilight, I slipped quietly out of our hull. The familiar city streets, usually bathed in the warm glow of streetlights, now appeared transformed into a surreal corridor of neon reflections dancing on rain-drenched pavement. My mind raced as I trailed her along these altered paths. A route I had known so well now seemed to lead to a hidden reality. Every step was heavy with a potent mix of apprehension and a desperate hope that I might finally discover the truth. At first, Madeline moved confidently with a small group of colleagues. Their laughter and polished professionalism provided a brief, bittersweet echo of the past. But gradually, she separated from the group, her pace slowing as she ventured down a quieter, unfamiliar street. My pulse raced with every step. The ambient noise of the city faded into a haunting stillness, and the shadows deepened around me. I maintained a discreet distance, my heart pounding so loudly I was sure it would give me away. Eventually, my pursuit led me to a sleek, upscale resort, a venue that radiated luxury and intimacy far removed from the sterile corridors of corporate offices. I parked my car a short distance away and found a hidden spot near a large window, my eyes straining to capture every nuance of a scene within. What I saw sent a jolt through my entire being. Instead of the sterile, purpose-driven meetings I had expected, I witnessed Madeline immersed in a scene that could only be described as a hidden vacation. There, in the elegant lobby bathed in soft ambient light, she laughed freely with a handsome stranger whose presence exuded both warmth and quiet seduction. Their demeanor was relaxed and affectionate. Every shared look, every tender touch spoke of a romance that had blossomed in secret. I fumbled with my phone, my fingers trembling as I captured every snippet of that forbidden moment. Snatches of laughter, whispered words that carried the warmth of genuine intimacy, and the gentle, lingering way her hand rested in his. Each image, though fleeting, seared itself into my memory and painted a picture starkly at odds with the story she had told. This was no business trip. It was a hidden vacation, a romantic escapade that betrayed not only my trust, but also the sacrifices I had made for our family. Returning home in a daze, my mind awash with bitter realization and my hands still shaking, I locked myself in my study. There, under the unforgiving light of my desk lamp, I poured every agonizing detail into my journal. I described with excruciating clarity the way her eyes glimmered with secret delight, the subtle tilt of her head as she listened to him, and the soft cadence of her laughter that now carried a defiant, hidden note. Every entry was a searing reminder of the life I had once believed in, a life built on trust and shared dreams, now crumbling under the weight of deception. In that dark, lonely hour, I vowed that I would not allow this betrayal to remain hidden. The truth, however painful, must be confronted, and the price of my sacrifice would demand its due. In the days following my heart-wrenching discovery, I transformed my personal anguish into an unrelenting, single-minded quest for irrefutable proof, a mission that consumed every waking moment of my life. Every minor detail, every anomalous behavior that I had once dismissed as a trivial imperfection, became a vital piece of the puzzle that would expose Madeline's systematic betrayal. I plunged headlong into her digital world with a fervor that left me both physically exhausted and emotionally hardened. I delved into her phone records, scrutinized her social media profiles, and examined every conversation with an intensity that bordered on obsession. Every late-night text message, every unexpected phone call, and the fleeting names that flashed across her screen were meticulously documented in my journal. It was as if each small irregularity was a droplet that filled an ever-growing reservoir of evidence, a reservoir that threatened, with each passing moment, to overflow with undeniable truth. I devoted countless hours to scouring every digital conversation, saving screenshots of messages that, on their surface, appeared strictly professional. Yet upon closer inspection, these messages were imbued with explicit, intimate language that belied their benign appearance. Disguised as business letters, they contained declarations of longing, flirtatious banter, and unabashed expressions of desire, all addressed to another man, a man whose name recurred like a dark refrain in those exchanges. Each revelation felt like a shard of glass, slicing deeper into the foundation of trust that I had so painstakingly built. Not content with textual evidence alone, I gathered every photo and short video clip I had captured outside the resort. I spent nights digitizing these visual fragments and seamlessly integrating them with the screenshots of intimate exchanges. With painstaking precision, I constructed a detailed timeline that spanned several weeks, each of Madeline's business trips, that had gradually morphed into a series of clandestine getaways, marked by covert meetings and hushed confessions. Every entry was annotated with exact dates, times, and even the specific locations where these hidden rendezvous occurred. Slowly but inexorably, the dossier emerged as a damning mosaic, a visual and written testament to a systematic betrayal that left no room for denial. Yet even as the physical evidence mounted, I found myself beset by a profound internal conflict. In the long, lonely hours of the night, I would sit alone before the compiled files, the digital relics of my shattered trust, and wonder if my relentless pursuit of proof was changing me. Was I in danger of losing the compassionate man I once was, a man who believed in forgiveness, who cherished the sanctity of our family? Each time such doubts crept into my mind, I recalled the tender, clandestine moments I had witnessed between Madeline and her mysterious paramour, the secret smiles, the stolen touches, the whispered confessions that had burned into my soul, and the overwhelming pain they inflicted. The bitter truth became as clear as it was cruel. The cost of betrayal was far too high to allow any semblance of compassion to remain unchallenged. By the end of an agonizing week, my dossier was complete, a comprehensive, unassailable chronicle of every lie, every furtive meeting, every stolen moment of intimacy that had defiled the very foundation of our shared future. As I pored over the final pages of my journal, my hands trembling and my heart heavy with the weight of each recorded detail, I knew that soon the time would come to confront Madeline with this damning truth. When that moment arrived, nothing would be able to hide the systematic betrayal I had so painstakingly documented. The dossier was not merely a collection of evidence. It was the embodiment of every broken promise, every sacrifice repaid in deceit, a mirror reflecting a painful reality I could no longer ignore. With a heavy heart and a resolve forged in sorrow and steeled by relentless determination, I closed my journal and stared at the amassed files on my desk. In that quiet, dark moment, I felt a transformation take hold, a metamorphosis from the compassionate, hopeful man I once was into someone driven by an unyielding need to force the truth into the unforgiving light. Every page, every meticulously recorded detail, was a battle cry against the deception that had so irreparably wounded me. I steeled myself for the inevitable confrontation, knowing that this dossier would serve as the unyielding testament to the betrayal that had shattered my world. The day of reckoning arrived beneath a leaden sky that mirrored the crushing weight of my grief and the turbulent storm of emotions that had been building within me. I had prepared for this day for what felt like an eternity, a day when every hidden truth would be forced into the light. I invited Madeline to our home under the pretext of discussing our future, a final, desperate attempt to salvage what remained of the dreams we had once shared. In our living room, which had once been a sanctuary of laughter and tender memories, I arranged the dossier with a meticulous care that betrayed the severity of the moment. Printed photographs, detailed journal entries, and digital recordings were laid out on the coffee table like silent witnesses, each one a testament to the systematic betrayal I had uncovered. When Madeline entered, the confident smile I had once adored faltered as her eyes fell upon the damning evidence. For a long, suffocating moment, neither of us spoke. The air between us was thick with unspoken accusations, heavy with despair and regret. Then, my voice, laden with sorrow yet burning with seething anger, broke the silence. "Madeline," I began, my tone trembling with heartbreak and fury, "I sacrificed everything for our family. I gave up a promising career, my ambitions, everything to build a future with you. And now I see that all those promises were nothing but illusions." Her eyes widened in shock, and she stammered feebly, insisting it was just a mistake, a lapse born of loneliness, she claimed. But every piece of evidence, every recorded detail, rendered her explanations hollow and meaningless. I recounted, with painstaking clarity, every late night, every secret call, every intimate message that confirmed the betrayal. Each word fell like a hammer blow upon the fragile foundation of trust we had so dearly built. As her defenses crumbled into quiet sobs, I warned her that the truth was now irrevocably exposed, and that the price of my sacrifice demanded consequences far beyond mere apologies. With my heart aching and my spirit hardened by months of silent suffering, I turned away and left her alone in her home, a home that now echoed with the silence of shattered dreams and broken promises. Stepping out into the chill afternoon, I vowed that Madeline, and, by extension, the man who had stolen our future, would soon have to face the full consequences of their actions. My sacrifice was too profound to be repaid with deception, and I knew that the next chapter of this painful journey would demand retribution, a reckoning that would force every broken promise into the unforgiving light of truth. Each step I took away from that house felt heavy with the weight of every lost dream and every unspoken word, and I knew in my heart that there would be no turning back. In the bitter days that followed our confrontation, the raw anguish that had once threatened to consume me began to solidify into a steely resolve for vengeance. I threw myself into advanced self-defense classes and spent countless hours at the gym, transforming my body into a disciplined instrument of retribution. Every drop of sweat, every bruise earned during those grueling sessions, became a physical testament to the determination that now blazed within me. Each disciplined movement was a reclaiming of the dignity that had been so ruthlessly stripped away, and I found that with every rep, every punishing set, a part of me was slowly being rebuilt. At the same time, I delved deeper into the world of the man who had betrayed us, a suave figure whose polished charm had long masked his true nature. I discreetly gathered information from acquaintances and scoured his social media profiles with a precision that bordered on obsession. With each piece of data, I constructed a detailed profile that revealed the human flaws hidden behind his immaculate facade. Every reckless decision he had made, every moment of carelessness he had so casually dismissed, became ammunition in my growing arsenal of vengeance. I recorded every detail in my journal, the exact words he used in casual conversation, the subtle shifts in his tone when discussing his professional endeavors, the rare instances when his carefully maintained mask slipped for just a moment. Each small piece of information reinforced my resolve. I would hold him accountable for every broken promise and every stolen moment of intimacy that had defiled our future. Late at night, in the oppressive solitude of our now quiet home, I poured my conflicted emotions into my journal. I wrestled with a gnawing fear that my relentless pursuit of retribution might eventually consume the compassionate man I once was, a man who had believed in forgiveness, who had treasured the sanctity of our family. But each time that doubt emerged, I recalled the tender, forbidden moments I had witnessed between Madeline and that man, the soft, intimate laughs, the furtive touches that now burned like brands into my memory, and the fire of my resolve blazed all the brighter. I began to devise a plan with the cold precision of a man who felt he had nothing left to lose. I selected a chic, upscale restaurant, a venue where my betrayer frequently hosted business dinners, and where Madeline had once shone with confidence and radiance, as the stage for the next act of this unfolding tragedy. Every detail was mapped out meticulously, the exact time the confrontation would take place, the layout of the dining room with its intimate corners and soft, ambient lighting, and the precise sequence of actions that would force a public reckoning. I vowed that the retribution I sought would not only restore my honor, but also serve as a stark, unyielding warning. The price of betrayal is steep, and it must be repaid in full. The seeds of vengeance, planted deep within the shattered remnants of my heart, grew stronger with every painful memory. I spent countless sleepless nights haunted by the image of Madeline laughing intimately with that man, the lingering touch of his hand on hers, the secretive glances exchanged in hushed corners, and with each recollection, my resolve hardened. Though there were fleeting moments when I questioned whether this path might ultimately destroy what little compassion remained in, the vivid images of their forbidden intimacy eclipsed any such doubts. I pledged that no matter the cost, I would force a reckoning that left both of them scarred by the truth, a reckoning that would unmask every deception and cast our once sacred vows into the unforgiving light of reality. Every new piece of evidence I uncovered, every minute detail I recorded, felt like a small victory, a step closer to reclaiming the dignity that had been so cruelly ripped from. I chronicled every late-night call, every secret text, every shadowed meeting until my dossier grew into a towering monument to betrayal. And with each page I added, my determination only grew stronger, transforming the pain of each memory into fuel for a burning, unquenchable desire for retribution. Under a sky heavy with dark clouds and a relentless drizzle that transformed the neon glow of the city into a shifting mosaic of sorrow, the night of reckoning finally arrived. It felt as if the heavens themselves wept for the lost promises and shattered dreams that had defined my life. Madeline had announced yet another evening out, a routine she always cloaked in the guise of professional obligation, and I knew with a certainty that pounded in my chest that she would be drawn to the upscale restaurant where Blake Monroe, her suave betrayer, conducted his business with an air of unassailable confidence. I parked my car in a narrow, shadowed alley, the slick pavement reflecting fractured neon signs like broken shards of a once bright future. I sat there in agonizing silence, my heart pounding in tandem with the relentless cadence of the rain, each droplet echoing the toll of my grief. With a final, resolute breath, I stepped out and crossed the slick pavement, the cold night air biting at my skin as I approached the looming entrance of the restaurant, a modern coliseum where fates would be irrevocably sealed. From the tinted windows of my vehicle, I watched as Madeline emerged into the rain-soaked night. The woman I had once known, radiant, warm, and full of promise, now moved with a subdued, almost ghostly elegance that betrayed the secret intimacy she was sharing. The rain glistened in her hair, softening her features even as her eyes revealed a hidden darkness. Beside her, Blake strode confidently, his every step a testament to the polished charm that had so long deceived me. Every touch, every subtle caress between them, was a public declaration of the betrayal that had tormented me in silence for so long. With deliberate, measured resolve, I left the sanctuary of my car and advanced into the stormy night. The rain mingled with the sweat on my skin as I approached the entrance, my every step echoing the bitter rhythm of my broken heart. Inside the restaurant, the atmosphere was deceptively calm, a gentle murmur of conversation, the soft clink of glassware, and ambient lighting that bathed the space in a serene glow. I navigated through the room with single-minded focus until I reached a secluded booth in the far corner, where Madeline and Blake sat lost in their private world of whispered secrets and tender gestures. For what felt like an eternity, I absorbed the scene, the soft cadence of their laughter, the lingering touches that spoke of intimacy and forbidden passion, the exchanged glances that confirmed every painful suspicion. In that suspended moment, the air itself seemed charged with impending collision of our lives, every second stretching out with an agonizing weight. Then, as if unable to contain the storm raging within me any longer, I emerged from the shadows. In an instant, the transformation was complete. Madeline's face contorted into a raw mask of horror, disbelief, and deep, soul-crushing regret, a look that shattered the remnants of the love I once knew. Blake's confident facade crumbled as I lunged forward with a fury that had been building silently for months. Every blow I delivered was calculated and precise, each impact resonating like the final toll of a bell heralding the end of our shared illusions. The restaurant erupted into chaos, gasps, murmurs, and the clamor of overturned chairs as I turned my wrath upon them both. I shouted declarations of betrayal, reciting the litany of sacrifices I had made, ensuring that every witness felt the unyielding weight of my retribution. In that brutal, chaotic moment, the private sanctuary of our intimacy was violently ripped away and thrust into the harsh glare of public scrutiny. When the tumult finally subsided and silence reclaimed the space, I slipped away into the rain-drenched night, each step heavy with the bittersweet knowledge that nothing could ever restore what had been lost. Yet, in that fleeting, excruciating moment, I had reclaimed a shred of my honor from the depths of betrayal. In the days that followed that fateful night, the world seemed to slow to a mournful cadence, a heavy, lingering silence that cloaked everything in a shroud of grief and regret. I returned to our once vibrant home, now transformed into a place haunted by echoes of shattered intimacy and irrevocable choices. The walls that had once reverberated with laughter and shared dreams now whispered the dark secrets of our broken past. Although the physical wounds from that violent confrontation would eventually fade, like bruises that slowly lose their hue, the deep emotional scars, the searing pain of betrayal, and the crushing cost of my sacrifice were etched indelibly into my soul. They served as a constant, unyielding reminder of that night, a spectral ledger of every broken promise and every unhealed wound. News of the confrontation spread quietly throughout our community, whispered behind closed doors and exchanged in hushed tones among neighbors. I became a symbol, a man both pitted and seared, whose desperate quest for retribution had forced private sins into the unforgiving light of public scrutiny. Official inquiries passed by in a blur of bureaucratic formality, their impersonal questions a distant murmur compared to the storm of guilt and sorrow that raged inside me. Yet, the true burden of my actions lay solely with me, the ceaseless, unanswerable question of whether any act of vengeance could ever restore what had been so irrevocably shattered. In the wake of that night, Madeline vanished from our home as if swallowed by the darkness she had long concealed. Her absence left behind a cavernous void, a space filled with unanswered questions, bitter regret, and the echo of a love that had been betrayed beyond repair. Blake, too, receded into obscurity, a mere shadow diminished by the heavy consequences of his choices. I found myself alone, standing amidst the ruins of a future that had once promised so much, forever altered by the irreversible path of retribution I had chosen. In the solitude of my study, a room that had once been a sanctuary for hope and creative dreams, I began a new journal, one that bore the raw, unfiltered account of my journey from sacrifice to betrayal, and from that betrayal to the steep, unyielding pursuit of vengeance. Every page became a chronicle of the bitter irony that, in giving up my career and ambitions to build a family, I had envisioned a future founded on unwavering trust. Instead, I discovered that the very foundation of that future had been shattered by secrets, lies, and the forbidden intimacy that stole away my dreams. Every word I penned was a struggle, a battle between a fragile hope for redemption and the stark, unyielding reality that some wounds never fully. I recorded the echoes of whispered confessions, the ghostly remnants of laughter turned to silence, and the heavy toll of every broken promise. As dawn broke on a misty morning, the weak light of a new day barely pierced the thick veil of sorrow that clung to my heart. I stood at a crossroads, scarred in both body and soul, unsure if I could ever truly move forward. And yet, amid the overwhelming grief and lingering regrets, I resolved that my story would serve as a cautionary chronicle, a testament to the fragile nature of trust and the steep, irreversible price of deception. Perhaps, in time, these scars might guide me toward a path of reluctant healing, a slow, arduous journey toward a peace that now seemed almost unattainable. Now, as I step forward into an uncertain future, I carry with me both the legacy of my sacrifice and the heavy burden of my retribution. I have become both the avenger and the wounded, a man forever marked by broken promises and the forbidden intimacy that stole away my dreams. In the quiet moments before each new day, as the darkness of night gives way to the tentative glow of dawn, I allow myself a fragile hope that one day, redemption might emerge from these ruins. Until that uncertain dawn arrives, I remain a living testament to one bitter truth: the price of betrayal is steep. In the pursuit of vengeance, even if it offers fleeting, brutal release, leaves behind a legacy of sorrow, irrevocable change, and a heart that may never fully mend. And that's the end of the day's story. If you enjoyed this journey, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more incredible stories like this one. Got thoughts or experiences you'd like to share? Drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.